significant changes have been some of the indemnification, liability insurance requirements. Those have been updated on as well as Lime's legal team. And the attorneys are in agreement that there should be a draft version before you with some red highlighting. Those are the most recent changes. Cale has reviewed those and is comfortable with those changes. You'll note I think it's on page 3, the revenue that the city makes on it has increased slightly from $375 a quarter to $500 a quarter, and then from 10 cents per ride in West Allis to 15 cents per ride. So that's a change. But aside from that, the city does have an ordinance that it amended last year governing scooters within the city. Such companies have to have an operating agreement with the city, and there are other restrictions as well. For they can't be on streets that exceed 30 miles per hour. And we'll be working with Lime. Much of the same areas that were geo-referenced last year are going to continue, and if there's additional areas, I guess let me know, let Dave Webking know, or just feel free to give us a call. And Lime's been very responsive to coordinating those updates and efforts with us.
Steve, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Just the highlights. They're supposed to be in the street, not on the sidewalks,
That is correct.
but they're not supposed to be on a street whose speed limit is 35 and above, or above 35?
Over 30 miles per hour.
Over 30 miles
Yeah.
an hour. So anything that's 35, they're not supposed to be on the street. And then the geofencing, I guess the complaint I'm hearing about them is they're turning up in people are using them in the places that they don't belong. Alderman Rote mentioned a case where they're riding like in the cement ditch in a creek somewhere or something. Is this a problem with it's just not fenced off, do we know, or the geofencing isn't that accurate?
I think the best person to answer that would be Kelvin here.
Yeah, no, happy to take that. Can I sit here? Cool. So geofencing is accurate down to about 5 feet. So these scooters have the same SIM cards that are in a cell phone. So similar to if you're right next to a building or in the basement right now, there might be something called GPS drift. If you're in an area of tall buildings or poor cell coverage. But for the most part, with what I'm hearing for the complaints, it sounds like we might not have a geofence implemented in that zone, in which case we're more than happy to work with you all to put something up to make sure that the scooter is being ridden properly.
How quickly can a geofence be added?
15 minutes.
And I would just chime in as somebody who was pretty involved on social media that anytime we had an area that needed to be geofenced or revisions made, that they were incredibly responsive.
Okay, and then the other complaint that I've been hearing is they're left on sidewalks and their people are kind of seeing them as litter.
Yep.
I guess that's just something we have to accept.
I wouldn't say accept is the right term. So, I mean, they're dockless scooters, meaning that, there's not a dock like bubbler bikes, which gives a little bit more accessibility to areas that maybe don't have the physical infrastructure to incorporate docked bike share. One of the things that we are rolling out this year is a partnership with a company called Capture. And so when you end your trip on a scooter, you have to take a photo of the scooter being parked properly. Currently, we have a team member that reviews all of those photos. If they're parked improperly, they get flagged. It's a warning. Multiple warnings leads to a fine and possible suspension or banning from the app. With this new Capture program that we have a partnership with, it's real-time AI parking education for the end of the trip. So basically, you hold your phone up. If the scooter's parked sideways across the sidewalk, it will tell you, it'll pop up on the screen and say, to end your trip, rectify your missed parking, like move the scooter, or if it's tipped over, it'll tell you to tip it up. So that's something that we're currently demoing in Milwaukee right now. We plan to roll it out market wide, hopefully by like June 1st, and we see that as like a game changer in ending like the litter or the misparked vehicles.
And then the two other things that I've witnessed myself is scooters being left in a place that I assume they weren't dropped off by you for multiple days. They still call them juicers, the people who are subcontractors or whatever? No.
So they're logistics partners now.
Okay, okay.
Yep, the juicer program's ended. Everybody that wants to work with us has to have an LLC and insurance.
So your logistic partners, are they pretty good at relocating them every day? Because my understanding, that's what it is, right?
Not quite. So basically, what we rolled out in West Dallas is what we currently have in our agreement with Milwaukee, and that is a scooter can't sit idle for more than 72 hours.
Okay.
So internally, we set it at 66 hours just to ensure that we get to everything.
Get somebody to it.
before
Because it's not making you any money if it's sitting in a wrong
Correct.
spot
Yep.
anyway.
Benefits nobody to have a scooter sitting in the middle of nowhere. We want them to be ridden. So generally, we're pretty good.
So that could be 2 or 3 days then.
It would be up to 3 days before a task would be generated, but for the most part, our system is getting those moved quicker than a couple
And
days.
minimum age is 16, 18, or 21?
18.
Okay, because I know in the city of Milwaukee, I've seen, I don't know, 10, 12-year-olds.
Yeah. So
How do you stop that? I mean, the account's got a credit card on it, and they're just using mom's or older brother's credit card? Is that what's going on there?
yeah. So I mean, so when you agree to our user agreement, you're agreeing that you're 18 years of age or older. Every account also has to have a credit card, meaning that obviously somebody that should be of age is having that.
Well, but you can get a credit card, I think, at almost any age, I
Yeah.
believe, right?
We also have a feature that we can turn on that's ID scan that would require every rider to scan an ID showing that they're at least 18 years of age.
Do you have
before-
that turned on in West Dallas?
I believe it is
Thought we
on.
turned that
Yeah,
on.
I
I
thought
believe
so
it
too.
is on.
Yeah, and
So
again,
it's
the,
on.
the kids riding I saw in the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, so it's on in West Dallas and Wauwatosa. I know that for a fact. Milwaukee declined to have it turned on just because there's some questions regarding like equity in terms of everybody
understand
having a
that.
valid ID. So, but yeah, it's on in West Dallas, and then if we were to relaunch, everybody would have to scan their ID again.
Any further questions from the committee?
I just want to get back up there. They're all waiting for me.
Oh, that's right. Dan, Alderman, we're holding Alderman Road
Yeah.
here for this.
I probably won't be in support of this, and don't look at me as the crabby old man, get off your lawn, get off my lawn, okay? Because I'm not. And these were all unsolicited comments to me. I didn't say, hey, what do you think of the Lime bikes? It's, a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people in Public Works don't like them. A few city employees don't like them. Nobody has said to me, oh, I'm glad we finally got Lime. You know, they have said to me, oh, I'm glad there's a Hobby Lobby in town. I'm glad there's a Chick-fil-A. Oh, we finally got Panera. But nobody has ever said, I'm glad Lime is here. I sent Steve some pictures, and he can share them with you. I was the guy that found the 5 of them that were like, spent a weekend in a cattle barn at State Fair. That was kind of my gripe. I'm also the guy that has the concrete crick that Marty was talking, that Alderman Weigel was talking about, where they're riding up and down the crick. So, again, I wasn't looking for any of these problems. I was just minding my own business, cutting my lawn and telling kids to get off my lawn. But that's where I'm at. So I will not be in support of this. Nothing against you or the concept. It's just everybody that has talked to me doesn't like them. And maybe
Understood.
I'm just talking. Maybe the wrong people are talking to me.
If I could respond to that, my
Quickly, because I got
Yes,
like, a whole
yes,
room full
absolutely
of people
quickly.
upstairs.
My response to that is usually what we see in the micromobility industry is that the opposition is far louder than the support, but the numbers speak for themselves. So City of West Dallas, we launched basically September 1st of last year.
And one more, if I may. I had, again, this isn't because it's in my neighborhood, but that's where I live. There were 2 parked in front of a house for probably 6 or 7 days. And after the 3rd day, I'm going, you know what? Because the neighbors are talking, when are they going to get out of here? So I went over and got the picture of the phone number on the handlebars. And I called, and I got your usual, what do I want to say? The people that answer the phone that don't have a lot of good English skills and everything like that. And we went through the whole thing, like what street, what da, 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 da. And then she said, and what country are you in? I don't know if you have these in other countries.
We do.
I guess my point is, even after the call, because everybody says, well, did you call Lime? Yeah, and it was 3 days later, and they only got 1. 1 out of the 2, and then the other one stayed there for another day.
That's interesting. I would
I
say
thought so, too.
We have a couple things. So we have a Milwaukee specific help email address. It's Help Milwaukee. If you were to email it, it would go directly to my phone. It would go directly to my team's phone. Our response rate on complaints last year was 48 minutes. So I guess if in this case it would be a barrier in getting the complaint in, that's when the Milwaukee specific email address would probably be most beneficial.
Okay, thank you for your time. I hate to rush you, but.
No, thank you, sir.
Any other comments or questions from the committee?
I just, again, present an alternate experience that I have had a lot of positive comments, especially for folks that are zipping around down here in downtown or on Beecher Street with all of the restaurants right now that have really enjoyed having the Lime scooters, and it has been perceived as a very positive improvement amongst a certain demographic. So excited to have you aboard. It's been great working with you. Nothing but positive things to say.
Thanks.
Alderman Keene, Alderperson Keene.
I've probably received wishy-washy, some very much against, some for. I think with one beta season, it's too, there's a lot that can be built upon, geofencing. I know I had a complaint from a business right on the corner of 92nd and National. Every day there was at least 3 or 4 parked, but right in front of his door. So if you were to come out and you have to step down, you're taking 2 steps and there's like a scooter there. So those are, I think, one-ofs that as council members, we can look to resolve in particular instances where there might seem to be an uptick in nuisance from it. But otherwise, I think, what is this contract date is good through, it's 1 year, right? So you guys, I'm in favor as well. It's another year, and I think that we can maximize on it and just make it better.
Any further discussion on this? Is this an ordinance?
Do we need to approve
It's a
as
resolution.
amended version?
Sorry, yeah.
That's a good point. I guess it would be the as amended version that
Yeah.
Gail's reviewed.
Okay. So I'll move approval as amended.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call on this?
No.
The resolution? Okay. A voice vote's good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Thank you all.
Okay. Now we'll jump back to item number 21 on the Administration Committee agenda, discussion on the status of federal grant funding, community development block grant funding, and housing choice voucher and home funds. I believe Patrick's gonna,
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this is just a real high-level discussion. There are numerous things going on in legislation, and it's, as you can read the headlines, it's changing every day.
legislation,
It's executive orders. So just really quick, CDBG funds, which we get around 1.2 million, and there's a lot of city programs that are influenced by having CDBG funds. Usually in March, Steve and our team gets a letter that says, this is how much you would get based on funding. And right now, I know the continuing funding resolution was just passed. There is maybe clarity that one option we could get funded, but there could be options that will be, something less. 84% of HUD staff, which monitors the HUD program, has been told they would not be returning. So we're concerned about the timing of money coming in. So we're gonna go through this year, and we should be okay depending if money comes in, but we wanted to make you aware that there could be a budget impact if we do not get funded, the CDBG funds, and then various programs, we've told all our programs do not spend any 2025 money, because we do not know when we're
Right.
getting it. It could come in next year. And then how do we budget for next year is a very significant question. So that's just that. Home funds could be last legislation update that we're monitoring all sources. Thank you. The last update we got on home funds is that it potentially will be eliminated. And that's affordable housing money that we utilize to build some of the new homes in the city. And the voucher program, I think today we heard we should be 100% funded, but we do not know who we report to in the near future. So they said the local Milwaukee staff said we don't know. It was this office, and then they moved it to another office. So vouchers should be paid. The one thing that could happen are the administrative fees could be reduced. Probably most impactful to the city is legislation that we've seen on removing or eliminating the tax exempt bonds. That could have consulted with our director of finance, close to $500,000 worth of expense to the city in terms of increased costs on borrowing. That's your roads, school, and this is not just the city, it's schools too, bridges, DOT, everything, a level of government where tax exempt bonds are used for public improvement infrastructure type of projects. So that one's a significant one. And the one on Friday, and I don't know if you heard this yet, but the executive order was to eliminate the CDFI fund. And that's the new market tax credit program that is fire, and fire is often financing economic development. Now, there was a statement today from the Secretary of the Treasury say, no, that's not exactly right, but executive orders are what they are, and we'll see how that transpires. But just at a high level, things that could impact the city's budget right now with legislation, there are a number of very fluid topics that could cause some change.
Yeah, and Patrick, so back to block grant money. So we use block grant money to, a lot of that we give away, but we have partners, nonprofits that provide services in the community. But some of that block grant money is used to partially fund some of our employees.
Right.
So these issues could be very, very important to us going forward, so.
Mr. Chair?
Alderperson Keene?
Yeah, Patrick, your write-up was really good. Thank you for the breakdown. Keep us apprised, whether it's just emails like that, whether we bring it in front of committee. I thought it broke everything down really well. Sitting on the community development block grant as a committee member, it had me a little bit nervous because besides it doing such good things for community, homeless outreach, WISH, graffiti removal, gang prevention,
Domestic violence.
job creation. I mean, the list is endless. If any of you guys are curious, Steve can send you or have Danielle send you what that money was allocated to, down to the penny, from rat abatement to, it touches all areas. So yeah, please keep us apprised, and especially because, again, some of that money is used for staffing. And some of those staff members are very key to what we do as the city, so.
Patrick, is that what you included in your letter, was the details of where those dollars were going?
I think, I mean,
Not all of
I
them,
think
but-
we included the annual, the last budget, but we can make sure that's out to everybody.
Really nice Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Can you share that
Yeah.
with the committee? Thank you.
The one thing, just to add, Mr. Chairman, is, we monitor our professional organizations. I was on a call today at 11 regarding the CDFI fund. So we're listening to all the discussions. But often legislators don't want to hear from, not like city staff, they want to hear from programs. So, like, give you a prime example, if this summer is hot and we don't have 2025 funds, it could impact the staffing at the waiting pool. Right? Because we don't have, I mean, I'm not saying if we don't,
Yeah, there was 10K in there for the lifeguard.
it's there for the staffing,
It's
right?
not a lot, but it is a
I
lot.
mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen,
But
But
it's a distinct possibility.
it's a distinct possibility at this stage. And this is, in 23 years, almost 24 years, I've ever seen this, with this, the lack of clarity. And so we're just in different, I'm just using that program. It could, one of the programs is gang prevention. I mean,
Well, graffiti removal.
graffiti
is
removal.
a big
Domestic
deal.
violence support.
Domestic violence support, really important things that are in our city. So if anybody's out there and they have questions and they want to contact somebody on behalf of the program, that's the best thing we can do at this stage, so.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on item number 21?
Thank you.
Okay, it was just a discussion item. There being nothing further to come before the administration committee. Motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. I moved. The chair can
And
move,
wind
I
up
like that.
table.
See,
All right.
chair moved.
The Economic Development Committee is now in order. Please note that all members are present. Number 26, ordinance to amend Section 1901 of the West Dallas Revised Municipal Code relative to rezoning 6604-20 West Mitchell Street from I-1 to C3.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion needed on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 27, resolution approving an amendment to the non-exclusive parking lot lease agreement by and between the City of West Dallas and the Deco Venues, which is owner of the property located at 7546 West Greenfield Avenue for parking in the city-owned parking lots located at 7525 West Greenfield Avenue and 14 South 75th Street.
Move approval.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I guess I don't see any from the city attorney's office here. Maybe
have-
somebody from
If you're
planning.
asking what the changes are, I have that.
No, I'm wondering what the penalty is for non-payment.
Oh, I don't know that, sorry. I thought I was prepared.
Is this a condition of his special use?
Yes.
So if,
So I guess it would revoke
if he
his-
doesn't pay,
his conditional
then
use
we
permit,
would
right?
revoke his special use. Okay, answers my question. Yeah, it's a process. It's not a,
Right.
it's not a, but it would be a process.
Would you, Alderman Nolan, share the changes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the substantive changes on this was the start date moving from 9/1/25 to opening date of the business. That way they weren't paying rent while they weren't open. The hard expiration date was changed to say 5 years rather than having that 5-year date out. Rent was clarified to be annual rent payable quarterly rather than a single upfront payment. And due date payments were adjusted to reflect the floating start date.
Thank you. All right, was there a motion and a second, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 28, resolution to approve the terms and conditions for an economic development loan to Oak Brewing Company LLC located at 6751 West National Avenue in the amount of up to $150,000 under the Capital Catalyst Loan Program.
Move approval?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 29, resolution to approve the terms and conditions for an economic development loan to Bars and Recreation, Inc., DBA SSB MKE, Inc., located at 6325 West National Avenue in the amount of $50,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just wanted to highlight that this is a community development block grant loan. So and one of the things I wanted to note about the community development block grant loan program, we use some of those funds to do assistance to small businesses for job creation. It's really a job creation program. So this is put into a capital stack for the project, and it's close to $1 million project to renovate 6325 West National. So for every dollar that is loaned through the CDBG program, the city obtains another $6 in leverage dollars brought in by private equity or a bank, et cetera, into a project, and this was a vacant property. So I just wanted to highlight that transformation, and that loan is structured as it's a 5-year note, $50,000, and you pay interest on it, and on the anniversary of the note, it's forgiven. In the sense that you create jobs for low to moderate income people, and there's a plan to do so and a commitment to do so in the commitment letter. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right, there was a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 30, conditional use permit for site landscaping and architectural design for Academy of Excellence, a proposed school use at 6021 West Lincoln Avenue and 2307-53 South 60th. This was the public hearing item.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
That just puts us into discussion mode, right?
Yeah,
Second.
yeah,
Right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll second that. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. I know I personally have questions. I assume some of you over here are from that school? Can you guys join at the mic?
I can move out of the way.
Or we've got room over on this side. We don't bite.
Do you want to come up to the table? Yeah, up here.
I'm Mike Dean. I'm the attorney for the school. Randy Melchert, who is the founder and administrator, is here as well. And more than likely on programmatic questions, he'd be the one to talk to, but I'm happy to respond to the extent that I can.
Okay.
And I apologize already for my voice, but
You're good. Friend, I think my questions probably are going to be for you, program-wise. So one of the things that were brought up in the presentation was that moving to West Dallas would be more central for most of your students. Does that change the number of students that you will have being dropped off or driven rather than bused? Right, because it makes sense if you've got a lot of kids that are traveling a good distance, bus them in, but if now the school's centrally located, that it could change.
No, the proportion of busing should stay the same.
Okay. And then have you guys conducted any kind of traffic study or asked the city to conduct a traffic study to see what busing and people coming in and out at those prime times will look like? Because I asked the police department just to pull some numbers for me, which I promptly left upstairs. But there's a fair amount of accidents at that intersection.
You had it on the back of one of those.
No, that was all my notes from the cop. So I have concerns about the safety of that 60th and Lincoln intersection and having a school there doing drop off and pick up at prime times when accidents are already occurring, adding additional traffic.
Yeah, we haven't had a traffic study.
Is that something you guys would be, let me ask it a different way. Is this something that we could, as a committee, request that a traffic study be conducted and then revisit this in 30 days or at our next council meeting? I mean, Kale,
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get a traffic study in 30 days.
I'm open to however long, yeah.
And I'd like to remind you, there was a school there for not a century, but decades.
Sure, sure. And when I asked Melinda in engineering about existing traffic studies, we hadn't done one in like 15 years. So we don't have any really kind of meaningful data. And the data that the police department pulled up for me was all in the last 2 years. So I guess I'm looking for some more just substance reassurance that we're not introducing a hazard to an already busy street. I may be alone in that.
Go ahead.
I have
Oh,
a
did you
separate
have some?
question. I don't
No,
know
go
if
for
that's
it.
all settled. Okay, Madam Chair. I had a question. You said that this would be a more centrally located area. Do you know about how many of your students currently reside in West Dallas?
None of the students reside in West Dallas. Some reside north side Milwaukee, some south side Milwaukee. So that's where it's a little bit closer to I-94.
Oh, where's your current location?
19th and Wind Lake.
Okay. Okay.
I had a couple comments. I was also concerned about, like, again, reintroducing the traffic to that area. We used to have two schools right there, obviously, at one point. And there were at times, I think that was at one point, it was averaging a lot of accidents. So with those concerns there, again, I don't know if the attorney has come down. I would,
I asked Kale and he said we were within, it was a reasonable request of the committee to ask to push this out for until a traffic study could be conducted.
that
And
would
that
be
was
my
from Kale.
recommendation, and then would it be, our engineering team
believe
doing that
it's-
traffic study?
So I'll propose that if you don't.
So there was a motion to approve, however, we would want this held till the next.
Yes, so was that an amendment? or did it
Yeah.
deny this?
Right.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask the applicant what the delay means. You want to have kids in there in September,
Correct.
and I assume you know the condition of the building and all that other stuff. Do you have to do a lot of work on it?
There's some maintenance work that needs to be done.
Okay, and if you, I mean, clearly if you don't get the kids to use,
Sure.
you're not gonna spend any money.
Maintenance work or substantive work? Because your bids didn't look terrible. You've got good bones there.
Correct. Some of it, I think, is the separation between the church building and the rectory.
I'm just wondering how long a delay is my question. I mean, we saw that we approved several months ago one of the special use for Holy Assumption.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, that deal fell apart for the applicant. This probably is not the kind of business that is printing money. I mean, you're probably doing it, half of you guys, it's love of the field, right? And I'm just wondering how much time could you tolerate before you, if this went to, say, June, that's gonna be too late, I'm assuming?
I'd have to check with some of the
Yeah.
I don't have that information.
It's here, right? Can we have somebody grab her to see how long a traffic's, like feasibly, how long a traffic study?
You want me to run up and see if I can?
I mean, if you want.
Were you looking for engineering to do the traffic study, or?
Yeah. Or is that something, I guess I'm looking for guidance, is that something typically that they would do privately?
Usually the applicant would hire a consultant.
Okay, so then that makes life easier.
Yeah, does it though?
I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if it's something that you're looking for traffic counts or the trip generation, how many trips per day, or,
Looking for some reassurance that, hey, we're not introducing additional hazards
Okay.
by reintroducing the school, or at least a disproportionate amount, we're not introducing a disproportionate amount of hazard by reintroducing the school.
I know somebody ran up to go see if Melinda's here, but if I may, when we reviewed the site plan, the engineering did look at the site plan. They looked at the access points and where the buses would be, coming in and going out and staging. And I guess a traffic memo or a traffic study wasn't suggested by engineering at the time, so.
So it's like, I went and
Yeah.
I sat there today at 4 o'clock and just watched, and it
Yeah.
was, people come in hot through there. There were a lot of screeching tires, and the report that I got from police for the last 2.5 years, or the last 2 years, it's a good, like, 1.5% of the traffic accidents happen there in that intersection.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I mean, this is in my district, and so I've kind of had 2 points on it, because I think I told Alderwoman Nolling that, I drive through there 3 days a week, taking my kids places. And I understand the concern about the traffic. For me, I think, I don't want that building sitting empty necessarily. It was a school. I'm concerned that perhaps a controlled intersection on that 60th part. It is on Lincoln, where there's the turns, but not on 60th, especially if people are going that way. Or being able to maybe direct the buses just to make right-hand turns, go around on Hayes, and to, just to lessen the, people making left-hand turns with that really a short distance between that parking if they're heading, back to Lincoln. That's kind of a short.
I guess
turn.
that would address my concerns, right?
Yeah,
If
I
it was
think-
directed traffic
Yeah,
flow.
because 60th is,
there's still a
it's just a
stoplight at
light, there's
Hayes?
no arrow,
There's a stoplight at Hayes yet. There's still a stoplight at 60th and Hayes. There's a legacy stoplight there from when it was a school previously.
Right, no, I'm just picturing the buses trying to make a left-hand turn onto 60th to get back to Lincoln, and that seems like that could be a problem,
And
especially
that's-
without, an arrow on 60th. But that might be an easy fix.
Is that, if I may, Madam Chair, Melinda, is that light on 60th and Hayes active currently? Do you know? I know at one time there was talk about taking it out.
It's still active.
So
Again, because I drive
it's not
through there.
flashing red or yellow? I mean,
I mean,
it cycles.
later in the day, later in the day, but when I'm going through there at 5:30, 4 o'clock, it's still active.
Okay.
So,
Again, unfortunately, I'm very familiar with the ride.
If,
Do you have a question for
if
Melinda?
if I could suggest, one of the options I believe that you have would be in the same way that we have the condition for building permits and whatever. It could be just to move the process along, you could approve the conditional use, but simply add your concerns as a condition to be addressed by engineering or staff, so that staff would address all their concerns. And in the same way, if we don't get a building permit, we don't move it, we don't satisfy that condition. If we didn't satisfy engineering about the traffic conditions, we wouldn't satisfy that condition, and we could not go forward. So that's a thought.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I guess my question's a little bit different geared. Because that building was I mean, it's extremely outdated, obviously, on the inside, and it was made for younger kids. Like, even I know the gymnasium's not much bigger than the size of this room. How are you going to make that work for high school students? Because the gym literally, even you're shaking your head, yeah, is the size of this room. How is that going, like, what changes are you going to make this work for high school students to make it appropriate?
For volleyball, it works great.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole school in general and the gymnasium, I mean,
Are the toilets really low?
The, I think where the kinder care is where the elementary school was, because the building I believe that we would be acquiring is where the high school was. So those, you have the wider hallways, the taller ceilings, the larger rooms, I believe.
Do you want to put a
Yeah,
condition
so,
on?
As to the gymnasium, to address your question, it's in our materials. There will be no games. There will be no evening tournaments
oh
or
yeah,
thing
I
like
was
that.
just wondering how it's going to accommodate to be
Oh
a
yeah,
good-
it's basically for volleyball. It's for physical ed.
yeah, I was just making sure,
so
like, where are
those
the kids
things.
gonna run?
Yeah, but
You
it's
know?
it's not for athletic contests or to have audience in or something
No,
like that.
no,
So
I just meant for basic gym class.
oh sure.
Any
Any
further
further?
discussion?
So are we
So
talking
did you
about
want
an
to
amendment to be?
then?
Yep, so I'm gonna move that we make an amendment to this for the Academy of Excellence to conduct a traffic study, and then, abide by the results of whatever you guys find there, but also to have directed traffic flow off of 60th Street so that you don't have, traffic that is crossing the street, so that you'll have, what?
Right out only?
Yeah, right out only and right in only. Try and direct the traffic that way so that they're not crossing. And that, I think, is the introduction of the hazard here, right? Is we're holding up traffic, trying to get folks to cross the street there. But if we can tell them, hey, you gotta just turn in that one way, it eliminates my
And
concerns.
every bus would have to drive all the way around the block over to 61st, to Hayes, to 61st, to Lincoln, if they want to go back to 94? Is that what you're saying?
Well, or if they can go down that space, next to the church too, I guess, but
Yeah.
Is there a
it's like a little mini
driveway
alley.
out onto Hayes?
Yeah,
Oh, so
Yeah,
they
I
could-
drove
they
it
could
this
go out
morning.
onto Hayes, wait at the light at Hayes, make the left on 60th to go north on 60th.
yep.
Melinda, since you're down here, did engineering have any concerns with traffic or traffic flow based on the plan or where the buses would be parked?
We weren't concerned with where the buses were gonna be parked, other than to make sure it didn't block other parking spaces.
Sure.
We also, I think, commented on making sure that the children had safe passage if there were people dropping off or whatever, that was, in the parking lot. And I think we talked about a write-in, write-out situation, when we reviewed it, so,
Okay. I didn't,
And then we'd obviously have you take a look at the traffic study once
yeah,
conducted.
yeah, yeah.
So for clarification, traffic study done, does that mean that we expect them to contract a traffic engineering company, or we're just gonna rely on data that we have in-house already and have engineering just give it a stamp of approval?
Melinda, what's your best guidance there?
Typically, we would have the developer do a traffic study,
Then-
but I don't think we would need a full-blown TIA, traffic counts and maybe some time of day,
Mostly when you're gonna see traffic for pickup, drop-off, right?
right, peak hour traffic, AM, PM, peak hour, kind of traffic study. We don't have any real current data, except for WisDOT has some traffic counts from '21 and some crash data.
Not valid anymore anyways, because that was
Right.
COVID.
So, the last time the city did a traffic study there was in 2010. So we would need to update anything that we would do too, so.
Okay, and one more question. In your familiarity with traffic studies, how long do you think this would take for them to, if they had to engage a private contractor to do this work? Is that 30 days turnaround or,
At most,
okay.
if they have a firm that they're working with, either that firm would either have the ability to maybe do a traffic study already, or they know a firm that can do a traffic study, and they can get counts for, maybe a week and get
So
the data done.
it's not an unnecessary, or it's not a like undue burden.
Yeah, just want to make sure that we're not
No, I appreciate it.
obstacles.
Madam Chair, there was a motion for an amendment, so it didn't have a
So
first
how do
and
we,
second
how
on
do we
it.
write that amendment out?
I just put down an amendment to request the traffic study and direct traffic flow not crossing at Hayes.
Right, and council and engineering to review traffic study once completed.
No, traffic will cross at Hayes, because Hayes is a signalized intersection. We don't want any mid-block traffic. We want right in, right out only on 60th Street.
Well, couldn't we say to develop a plan
Why don't we
for
just say
directed
work with
traffic study?
engineering?
Yes,
Yeah,
work
develop
with
a plan to
engineering
satisfy engineering.
on directed traffic flow.
So I don't think it needs to come back before us if engineering.
Yeah, if Melinda gives her stamp,
Melinda's
then
good,
we're
I'm good.
fine.
And one more question for the applicant.
Sure.
Do you have your own shuttle, own buses? Do you have a couple small little vans, or
Um,
these are all contracted?
We contract out,
Okay, so they're not sitting there,
correct,
they pick up and they drop off and then they go away?
correct.
All right, so we had the motion
Just need a second.
We have a motion, yes.
As amended, or? do
as
you-
amended.
As amended,
This is, amendment of the amendment?
no.
No,
Or just as amended?
As amended.
as amended.
And who's second?
Kimberly. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, the ayes have it. Okay, anything else has come before economic and development? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. Patty's at the gym?